This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
And Terry grabs a bat out of the car, and he ends up beating his dad to death over his grandparents' grave with the baseball bat, and then picks up his body, puts him in the truck, drives down the road a little ways where this bridge goes over a little creek, and disposes of him over the bridge.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health, a free safe space for people to share and learn from others' experiences with mental health and addictions. I'm Todd Runnebaum, a suicide attempt survivor and a recovering substance abuser. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. This episode is with Brook Fisher. She is a lovely Kentucky girl, and she has, I'd say, quite a traumatic childhood experience when she was just a little fella, a baby, I guess you could call them. As a baby, she was witness to her parents' murder by her dad's cousin, who also murdered her grandparents. There's more to this story too, much more. Her and her story were featured on a TV show called American Monster. She's in season 11, episode 4, so you can see that. But of course, you can just listen to it all right here as well. It's a bit of a longer episode, so we'll just get right into it. So without further ado, I give you Brook Fisher.
It'll be 26 years in June. I'm about 2 hours west of that now. We moved away whenever we came to college. And so,
Right.
But also,
As you do.
If you know the town that I grew up in, Muhlenberg County, there's nothing there. They shut down the last coal mine, I think, when I was in high school. So it literally, you have the McDonald's and you have the Huck's gas station, and you have a Chinese restaurant. So, that's, we all hung out in the McDonald's parking lot, in high school. It's just one of those.
And a lot of meth users?
Have you seen the SNL skit?
Maybe. I just know in that area.
So we were mentioned on SNL at one point as Methenburg, Kentucky.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Yeah, we were the meth capital for like a while, I think. Yeah. Yeah. I've never tried it. I'm clean.
No judgment. I'm over 8 years sober and clean myself. And
I love that. Proud.
Worked in addictions for a bit, so yeah,
that's
no judgment.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely like I know from having still a lot of law enforcement in the family, it's still rampant there, but I think it's sadly some other towns near us have kind of surpassed us. So we don't hold the title anymore, but it's also sad that somebody else took it, so we can go all the way back because this is a family, Familicide, I guess is what they're called. So my dad, it's my dad's side of the family. He grew up, essentially our family had like a little community where we all kind of lived in the same street or in the same little neighborhood. We had my great-grandparents on the corner. We had my parents that had a trailer, and then the old family house that nobody lived in anymore. It's kind of fallen apart. And then we had my great aunt and uncle, who was my dad's mother's sister and brother-in-law. And then lived with them was their son, Terry Todd. So Terry Todd and my dad grew up together with Terry Todd also had 2 sisters. They were all very close in age. They would, play together, ride around on bikes in the yards. The families were constantly together.
So your dad and Terry would have been cousins?
Yes, first cousins.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, they grew up pretty close and whenever they were super young. And then I believe at some point in like elementary, middle school, Terry Todd and his parents and his sisters, they ended up moving to a different town for a few years. And then they came back after they graduated high school, I believe. And within that time that Terry Todd moved away, we gather that he wasn't necessarily hanging with maybe like the best crowd. It's not confirmed, but there are like rumors that they may have also been doing some drugs when they were hanging out, which in our area, what else do you do? He had gotten in some fights, some altercations. It had been known that he wasn't necessarily treated the best in school. They said he had a very, very feminine voice. And so he was made fun of a lot. He picked up, I think, karate in his younger years. I could see him just going away and locking himself in his room for a week. And then he comes out and he's like a martial arts expert. So
he sounds neurodiverse. She's shaking her head, nodding her head for those of you listening.
We'll get to it. He has some diagnoses that come out, but there's a few that I now, I have a bachelor's and master's in social work and mental health. And so there's some things that I am looking at now that I definitely think that there are some more diagnoses in there. So then getting out of high school, they said that he started bodybuilding. They're also wondering if like he was taking steroids because there was about a year period where he went from being just scrawny, tall, thin, and then he just like blew up. He has massive shoulders, so he picked it up really fast. He got really big, but also in that year, which was essentially like the last year up until all of this happened, he started having episodes, I guess as they would call them. His anger would get really bad. He would lash out violently. There had been a previous case of him assaulting someone with a baseball bat, and then he got arrested for it. Another previous case that he was walking on the side of the road and like a police officer pulled up to ask what was going on, and he started picking up bricks and just throwing them at the police car. So some anger issues happening. He finally gets diagnosed with bipolar disorder at like 26 or so. They get him on some medication, but it doesn't last long. His parents start noticing that, he's regressing. He's starting to get violent again. And so they're assuming that he's not taking his medication anymore. And he's living with them at the time. And they're back in that house that's on, our family street. So they're noticing that he's not taking his medicine. He's getting a lot more volatile. He's getting a lot more erratic. He snaps at them for the, smallest little thing. And so they reach out to my parents for help. My dad has also expressed concern to them as a police officer, saying, hey, his behavior is starting to look very concerning. So eventually his parents decide that they need to get the courts involved. So one day his mother, my Aunt Beverly, calls my mother and says, can you take me up to the courthouse to get like an involuntary hold? So they go, the judge signs off on it. They now have a warrant out. And my dad says, let it be me. I'll be the one to go and help with this. Hopefully, because it's me, it'll go a lot smoother. It does not go very smooth. I think my dad, another officer, and then Terry's own father all end up having to chase him down. There is an altercation. I don't know if they had said that a taser was involved in this altercation to get him into the car, but it was not a smooth transition. they finally get him in the car. They take him to Western State Hospital in Hopkinsville. Western State has the 72-hour hold. They release him. At the end of the 72 hours, they say he is expressing signs that he's, sane of mind. He's coherent. He knows what's happening. He expresses that he is not a danger to himself or others. We're sending him home with medication. Best of luck. Also note, at this time, it is June of 1999. The prison system is going through an overhaul at the time. A lot of prisons are starting to realize that they're housing a lot of mentally ill patients that necessarily should not be in prison. And so they start essentially like mass evacuations into these mental hospitals. At the time, at least some of the prisons in Kentucky were doing those transfers. A lot of our mental hospitals were full. So I think even if he were presenting as a danger, the hospital essentially was saying they're also too full. They can't hold him more than 72 hours. So they ended up trying to sue the hospital after all of this. It didn't work out, unfortunately. So he does his 72 hours. He's then released back home. That's when my mom starts expressing concern to a few people in her life, that like flat out telling them that she's scared. She sees him watching the house. She doesn't want to be there alone whenever my dad is working. Like as soon as my dad leaves for work, she leaves for somebody's house. So she does not like being there. And she expressed to one friend that she just does not think that she's going to be alive much longer. And she was essentially using those last couple days telling different people like, bye, because she thinks that something is going to happen. So fast forward about 2 days, my dad, whenever he gets to work, he doesn't really say much about it other than like he could just tell that Terry seemed frustrated at them, but he wasn't saying much more than that. So like the police department themselves, I don't think really knew what the vibes were. Everybody was just kind of on edge. But I think my dad was also trying to just be like, it's Terry. He loves me. I love him. We're a family. We'll get over this. So let's see. It's a Saturday. He was released on Thursday. On the Saturday, he ends up getting his mom and dad separated. So his mom and dad were mail carriers for the Evansville newspaper. They delivered newspapers every day. So while his mom was on shift Saturday morning, him and his dad were home, and he coaxes his dad out of the house. He says, let's go to the cemetery, see your parents, because that's a big thing. Like in our small town, like families, let's go run by the cemetery today on the way to lunch and pay our respects and all the things. So I said, let's run by there. Let's get lunch for mom, bring it home, all this stuff. They get to the cemetery and Terry grabs a bat out of the car and he ends up beating his dad to death over his grandparents' grave with the baseball bat, and then picks up his body, puts him in the truck, drives down the road a little ways where this bridge goes over a little creek, and disposes of him over the bridge. He goes back home. He hoses out the truck or the car, whichever one he was in, cleans it out, waits for his mom to get home. His mom gets home, says, hey, Mom, Dad had to run to town real fast, but why don't you and I go out, grab some dinner, come back, meet him? Well, the same thing. He goes to like the same road, gets out of the car, walks around the back, grabs a shotgun, walks to her window, and shoots her. He said at least, if anything can come from that, was he said she did not see him. She did not know it was coming. So same thing with from his dad. He takes her and disposes of her in that same creek. that's a bit of a ways down from where Terry was. So same thing. He goes back to the house. He lazily cleans out the truck. We later find that they still had like pieces inside that they knew that they could figure out what had happened. So then we don't really know exactly what happens. I researched as much as I could in the records that the courthouse provided on what happened that night. We know that at some point he goes to the next town over, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and he meets up with friends. All of their interviews have been redacted. So I have no idea what happened there. I do know that at the end of the night, he gets ice cream. And then he comes back to Muhlenberg County. Something about that. They found the ice cream like melting on the counter. So he didn't even eat the ice cream, something. So he comes back and he essentially is like lying in wait in the morning, early morning hours of Sunday. So that day, apparently I was really, really sick. I was a month from being 2 at the time. I was a toddler. I was really, really sick. They were going to load me up and take me to the ER just to because our doctor's offices, we don't have any clinics or anything. So it's ER on a Sunday. Take me to the ER, get me checked out before church that morning because my dad was also the pastor of our church. And as soon as we walked out and they were getting in the car, Terry shoots my dad. While Terry is still in his kitchen, he points the gun out his window and shoots my dad from across the yard. Then he exits his house. He goes to the car, and there is an altercation with my mom to take me away from her. He finally takes me from her and puts me around the back of the car. And then he shoots my mom twice. She was also pregnant at the time. I believe like one shot went in her like arm and he sees that. And then it was a second shot. And I'm pretty sure the second shot was her abdomen. Don't know if he knew if she was pregnant, if that was like on purpose. I don't know. So then he takes me back to his house. And he says in the interview that I had, thrown up. I had a dirty diaper, which they said I was sick. And he said that he bathed me and then he fed me some ice cream. And then he was just trying to get me to stop crying. My uncle Derek, which is one of my mom's brothers, he was staying with us at the time. And so, he woke up in that first shot with my dad. He then witnessed everything with my mom. And then he was the one that hid. He actually hid and called 911. So he was there when the cops showed up. He ran out. The cops get there and he tells them that I'm in the house with him. So they wait until state police get there. And they said every time that Terry Todd would go to like a window or a door to talk with them, he would hold me in front of him, a literal human shield. And so I think they said it only was, I say only, but only a few hours that morning before he eventually walked out of the house, set me down, and surrendered. And whenever they finally got him in for questioning and everything, they go through the house. They see that he has guns and ammo in every room, by every window. And then they also found that he had been breeding or training a bunch of pit bulls in the basement, which as a pit bull owner now, that just pisses me off to no end.
Murdering your parents is fine, but pit bulls in a basement?
Hot
fucker.
Literally. So
I'll probably have to cut that out because it seemed insensitive.
People that don't get dark humor really would not understand.
This is why I contacted you. Your one posted it about dark humor.
I literally cannot survive without my dark humor.
I have questions about that later.
Yeah. So they finally get him in, they get him talking. They realize that the phone at his house is ringing off the hook. And it's all the clients that normally get their newspaper. And they're saying, nobody's delivered their newspaper this morning. And so then the cops realize, oh, his parents are missing. Also, nobody's seen his parents. That's when they find the car that has fragments in it. And then he finally tells them where you can find his parents in that creek, essentially. So he goes in, he pleads guilty but mentally ill. So he ends up getting 4 life sentences, no parole. He is in, I think, like the psych wing of the prison. To me, the only good part about that is he's in a cell by himself for 23 hours a day and doesn't really even get to be in with Jim Pop. So I hope he's going at least a little crazy in there. And there has been some news of like some times where he's tried to peace out and they won't let him. So that's also interesting as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty wild. And I've just grown up with this story. Like, since I could learn how to talk, I've been telling this story. And you wonder why my humor is wild.
I don't. No, I don't. But some people might. But so then who raised you?
So my dad's parents raised me, my Nana and my Papaw.
And I take it you've never spoke with?
I've reached out to him in college whenever I was, getting my mental health degree. And at first, so here's also the thing. Growing up, there were 2 different stories. So there was the story that I just told you, which was the facts. And then there was a different story told by his family, his side of the family, that it really was a mental illness. And that while it wasn't just bipolar, it was bipolar with grandiose delusions.
Schizoaffective
yes,
bipolar.
They were essentially trying during court to say this is how he's going to have the but mentally ill, is if he convinces them with conflicting stories also that he was having these crazy delusions. One delusion I heard was that he was God and that all of the problems of the world were his fault. And so he was just going to go ahead and start taking people out because they would be better off. And then another big delusion was that the government had taken his whole family and then replaced them all with lookalikes. And the only way to get his real family back is to kill the imposters. So that's the stories that I think he told, that he learned that he could tell so that he maybe wouldn't get the death penalty because that was on the table. And so his sisters essentially had continued on throughout my life while growing up, trying to convince me that it really was these grand delusions and that he wasn't in his right mind and that he never, ever would have actually done anything. And he actually loved his family. And so it wasn't really even until I left that town. I was in college. I'm doing all of my own research. I'm learning what can and cannot be within certain diagnoses. For a while, I'm like trying my hardest to diagnose him essentially with like schizophrenia. That wasn't working. Schizoaffective, that also is not working. The only thing that he really does fit from interviews with people that have talked to him is a bipolar disorder, but not to the extent where he has ever had any kind of massive delusions. Also, the fact that he was medicated while hospitalized. You cannot go from being medicated to having psychosis within 48 hours. The math is not mathing. So it really was me figuring out in college that he really was playing the system one more time, trying to convince, and he still talks with his sisters like they still are gung-ho believing that he is just this mentally ill, can't help himself guy. But no, I did try to reach out to him, to talk to him, or even if anything, just tell him like, I'm doing well, no matter what you did. But then his social worker and therapist or whatever in prison said that that would very negatively impact his improvements. And so they did not think it would be a good idea for me to speak to him. So I said, okay, fuck my negative impacts, but sure, yeah, let's worry about his. So it was a great time. And then especially even after that, that's kind of when we stopped talking to like his sisters, because they are...
You say we?
We as in like some other members of my family still kept up that relationship, because when I tell you like I was obsessed with them, like they were like the big sisters that I never had. Like every time they would come into town, it was, I do not care who you are in front of me, I will plow you over to get to them. So it very much was, I think a lot of family just kind of kept their mouth shut while I was growing up so that they could still be around. But now that I essentially am getting a lot of the truth, I haven't spoken to them since, as even like getting ready for these podcasts and the TV show. They made their opinions very well known. And so we have not spoken since.
Did what happened influence you to take what you took in college, the mental health?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. Yeah. All growing up, I just needed to understand. It definitely was insightful. I definitely learned a lot. I ended up in my grad school. I did like a focus on forensics, forensic social work. I did a lot of my projects on essentially like the mind of killers. So yeah, that was my focus in grad school.
And then you get a piece of paper at the end. You're like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
And now I do hair.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you should combine the two. You should have like it's therapy and a hair.
That's usually what it is. Yeah. But now I can actually tell people, I'm like, hey, I know that you're going through this, but you may also want to look into this, or you may also really want to talk to somebody about this because...
So do you charge more because it's therapy as well?
No, unfortunately, that is not allowed. But I did have a lot of people, whenever I got out of college, start coming to me because they can't afford to go to therapy necessarily. But they're like, we know that you're a mental health professional, and we know that you're not going to take what I say and go talk about it around town or, you know, whatever it may be.
So you still have the Hippocratic Oath kind of.
Yes, very much so. And that's why I ended up getting a suite all to myself so I can close the door if they want to talk.
This is amazing.
Yeah, whatever you want to talk about. I've had to do some safety plans in the chair. I've literally helped people in like domestic situations from the chair. There's a lot of stuff that go into it, but yeah, I definitely always loved doing hair. And then after school, I loved helping people. Yeah. And so what better way to make someone feel better by, you know, their looks, but also leaving feeling a little bit more lighthearted, getting some stuff off your chest. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's a really, in some ways, it could also be sneaky because some people maybe don't want to go to a therapist and open up. It's too intimidating, but you know, you might want to kiki with your hairstyle, dresser or whatever.
So many times where people will come in and they spill, and you know, I'll throw in there like and how, you know, how did that really like impact you at the time? Like kind of walk me through what, you know, you were thinking, and just little stuff like that. And then by the end, they're like, man, I feel like I had a therapy session. And I'm like, well, you're so welcome. I threw in a little CBT in there while we were at it, but...
So you're like, use this shampoo and this product, and here's your
journal. Make sure
your
that
prescription.
Make sure we're journaling every day. Bring it back at your next appointment. We'll look over it.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
That's really, really cool that you do that. I mean, you could be making way more money as a therapist probably, but that doesn't matter to you.
Yeah.
Or does it?
I mean,
I'm assuming maybe.
Where I live in Kentucky, I could probably make more doing hair, honestly.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
So you made the right choice.
Insurance is not great around here, especially for payouts. A lot of my clients, too, in the chair are therapists. So, yeah, from where I did work in social work for a while in school, I worked at a children's advocacy and rape crisis center. And so a lot of the therapists and social workers there, we became friends. They started coming to me for hair. And so they, even though a lot of them have left or started their own practice or whatever, they all still come and get their hair done. And so I still get to talk to them and see, you know, new things that are going on in the field. But also, like, for them, it's another professional that they can sit and talk with. They'll also come in and say, you know, like, man, I have a case. Like, can I just talk this through with you? You know, and I can sometimes bounce ideas back and forth on like, well, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have we looked at this certain part of their childhood or like whatever it may be? And it's just something where they're in a place where they can let their guard down. They can relax. They feel like they're with a peer, but it's also not like, it's not in their business setting. They're not having to have a meeting with, you know, the director and you're on edge and all the things. So
amazing.
Yeah, it's a good time. I hope I've set up a good space for it.
Well, sounds like you have. It sounds that is so cool.
Oh, thank you.
I'm very impressed by you. You're a very impressive young lady.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I mean, you obviously have the training and stuff. So you have empathy for people that are mentally ill or have had some trauma, all the stuff. Mm-hmm. You have empathy and you're educated. Are you too close to the situation to... I think you know what I'm trying to say. Like,
yeah, especially for my situation, looking at Terry Todd as a person,
right? You're able to separate yourself from the situation enough to look at it.
Yes, and that's what when I say I use this essentially as my research project in school. I mean, I really did. I brought in colleagues, I brought in lawyers, I brought in professors to look at this, to look at the case, to look at thinking separately. We're looking at this mental diagnosis itself. We're looking at bipolar disorder. We're looking at, there are different, you have bipolar 1, you have bipolar 2. Are there different symptoms that he could be expressing that could be pointing to something else? Does he have too many comorbidities with whatever it may be? And then also looking at the facts of he was doing the bodybuilding. All of a sudden, within that 1 year, he got very, very large. And so you're looking at what other substances could have also been involved that could have been negatively impacting the bipolar medication that he was already on. So you're looking at all sorts of different factors. And I mean, I had some friends in the criminology department that were looking at the case itself. I had professors looking at his actual diagnoses. I had other friends looking at, okay, let's look at his life as a whole. Let's look at Were there certain traumas in his childhood? Where was it the bullying in school? Was it these people that he was hanging out with? Was it any kind of dynamic within the household? Was it a literal jealousy between, this family here and this family here? Looking at everything, they all also came to the same conclusion that I had, which was that his story and his claim is not matching up, and his behaviors before and directly after, if you're looking at interviews, you're looking at the trial, you're looking at how he is portraying himself, it's not someone going through
psychosis.
Yes. It's not someone that is not totally sane of mind. I say that not really counting like sociopath or psychopath or whatever, because that's a whole other monster. But that does lead me into the lack of empathy that I've started to see home videos, how he would talk to people, and then how he would talk about the situation after really is making me wonder if there is any empathy to be had in his brain, which then makes me think, could the bipolar disorder have been a front for something else? Could he actually be have some sociopathy, and he has maybe grown to learn and watch others, but those that he learned and watched maybe portrayed not a normal person. Like he learned how to become violent because that's what he saw. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different things that you can go through and you can wonder. I'll never know because he won't talk to me. But I definitely do think that, and a lot of other professionals that I have talked to think that the bipolar that he had was not consistent with a diagnosis that would also come with psychosis, delusions, anything like that. He was in his right state of mind at the time. He was not showing remorse after the incident. And so that to me means that he did this fully knowing what he was doing. He fully had it planned out. And he did it because he was either angry, because he was sad, or just because he thought it was fun. I have no idea. But he was fully there mentally when he did it.
Do you have any empathy for him or any
I used to. Just the fact that you could do that and then come back and play so cool. Like, hey, Mom, let's go get dinner and wait for Dad to get back home.
Yeah.
You just killed your dad. Like, what do you mean? Like, how can you just play it off like this is totally fine and then go hang out with your friends after? Like, kill my parents and then come back and give me a bath and just lay me down for a nap? That's not... Even a normal person who has bipolar disorder can have empathy. Like, you're distancing yourself from this whole situation. You're putting yourself in oh, here's this, Terry, the killer, let me just put him in a box really fast and go back to Terry the son or Terry the cousin. That's a whole mind fuck. And that's when it gets into one of the personality disorders, because that's wild. A normal person with a quote unquote normal personality, whatever, is not going to do that.
Which is why I suppose a lot of the family or certain people think he must have been mentally ill, because that is just so beyond.
Yes. And especially in 1999, you're just oh yeah, mentally ill. They're all mentally ill. Mental illness, everything. Instead of just being, he's just an evil person who did something horrible.
So that's him.
Mm-hmm.
So you growing up, does a 2-year-old experience PTSD? I mean, they obviously do.
Yeah.
But so now that you've been educated, you're able to look back on your life. Is there things in your life that you're oh, that was probably some kind of a coping mechanisms or some kind of response? So
much. There's so many things now. And I mean, I have a list of diagnoses.
Do tell.
So I have complex PTSD, obviously, but also complex PTSD and an ADHD diagnosis. Those two put together can lead into some pretty fun ones. So OCD, I definitely have the obsession mentally And then that can also turn into my panic disorder. I also have dissociation because, and then, and then the big one that I've just figured out within the last few years, which has made a lot of sense, is reactive attachment disorder.
I don't know if I've ever heard this.
So reactive attachment is essentially my body knew from a young age that it was abandoned. I knew that I was abandoned on some level. So even from a toddler growing up, I would attach on to whatever was there. So it didn't matter if it was a stranger or if I just met you, or my grandparents are just like, hey, can you watch my kid real quick? Like, you're going to become my new favorite person and I'm going to become obsessed with you. And then the moment that they try to take me away from you, I'm going to feel like my life is ended.
It sounds like a couple other possible things too.
Yes.
Borderline personality disorder-esque.
I have been asking my therapist for years. I'm like, are you sure I'm not borderline? The CPTSD is the same way.
There's so much. I wish we could just, I say this all the time on here. I wish we could just take blood tests and be like,
literally, what do I have?
That's what it is.
Yes.
Because there's so much overlap and so much similar.
Yeah. And then, the same with like my friendships. Like I get very attached to my friendships. In the moment one of my friends makes another friend, it's, what do you mean? Like you're now throwing me to the wayside. You mean I'm nothing to you? Whereas no, they're allowed to have other friends, Brooke. It's okay. But yeah, so even little things like pets. So like if one of my pets dies, it's literally the end of the world. And then also like with that reactive attachment is I'm very big on like putting back what you give me. Like how you treat me in our relationship is how I'm going to then treat you. So if I have a toxic relationship and they're treating me probably not that great, I'm going to throw it back at you without like understanding what I'm doing or saying all the time. It's weird.
Yeah. Again, it's like that could also be possibly part of the ADHD.
Very much so. And like we always assumed that I had, just regular PTSD. And I didn't totally understand. Yeah, regular PTSD. Didn't understand that there was a complex PTSD, which had some different symptoms, I guess, with it. The biggest thing for me that everybody in my life knows, I have the memory of a goldfish. When I tell you, I have no idea how I made it through school and how I made it through school with a 4.0 GPA. I have no idea. I will ask my husband how his day went at work 5 times when he gets home. All through college, all through high school, I do not remember. I remember like whenever I would come in or whenever my papa would come into town whenever I was in college and he would start talking about like, oh, you remember the time that we took you to Holiday World whenever you were 7 and remember you threw up on the whatever roller coaster?
Holiday World.
Yeah, in Indiana. In Santa Claus, Indiana.
That's the name of the town?
Santa Claus. Yeah, Santa Claus, Indiana. They have a really big Santa Claus.
And a Holiday World.
And a Holiday World. Yeah, Holiday World has different seasons in it. It was a great time. But I could have sworn that I didn't go to Holiday World till college. And he said, no, you've been to Holiday World. And I said, no, I have not. So apparently I was proven wrong. Literally just like regular things in childhood. Like I should remember vacations. I should remember birthday parties. I should remember what I got for Christmas 2 years ago, maybe, if it was something big.
I don't remember what I gave people. Like I'm the one that bought it and wrapped it and everything.
Literally, me too. I have no idea.
Yeah. Living in the now, man.
Very much so. But I also feel like a lot of the memory issues is like dissociation at the same time. Like I'm so out of my own head for most of the day because who wants to be there? It's a scary place. That I'm not retaining information as it's coming in. Also with the CPTSD, constantly with my nerves, my anxiety is also with the OCD, the obsessive thoughts. It's just running 24/7. And so
fight or flight all the time.
It's fight or flight constantly. So how am I going to retain information from a conversation that I had yesterday if my body is freaking out all the time?
Right.
Like my clients at work, I love you. I know that we had a good conversation last time. I know you told me something traumatic, but what you told me, I have no idea.
You have to start
Literally
charting.
have no idea. Literally, I'm going to have to start charting. Yeah, I just have no memory.
Well, that's the weird thing about our stupid little brains. I have a friend who's early 50s. He thought he was having like early dementia, and he's a stand-up comedian. He was forgetting his own material. So then he actually went to one of the big brain doctor down in Pittsburgh, and he thought he's going to tell me it's dementia or something like that. He's like, the doctor came in and said, you, sir, have PTSD and your brain has just decompartmentalized things and put other things on a shelf, and it's fight or flight all the time in your brain. Yeah.
That's me.
What, I guess, chunk of your life, age group, was maybe the most difficult and which was the most eye-opening, and maybe were they the same?
So I feel like the most difficult is high school.
Just because of regular high school stuff?
I mean, normal, regular high school stuff. But then also, like, mean kids really can pull out just mean stuff.
Like, haha, your parents are dead stuff?
Yes, but also, like, I mean, the amount of kids who would talk about, like, fucking my mom. Like, I'm like, a corpse? And they're like, yeah. You know, literally, like, fucked up stuff that I'm just like, a lot of you really need to be checked.
Yeah, that's their trauma response to things.
Yeah. And then especially like in today's time, and even back when I was in high school, like police brutality was a big topic of conversation. And so then a lot of people would take me as having like a dead cop dad and then like turn around and say, oh, I bet your dad was, you know, doing this and doing that. I bet your dad was one of the worst ones. If your dad were alive today, I hope he would have got shot, you know, about like ridiculous stuff. Like, am I big in advocating against police brutality? Absolutely. But also from what I know about my dad, he would have also been on the front lines going against police brutality. Like, he was the kind of guy that they talked about. He would go into the jail, like after he would arrest somebody, he would go in off the clock after hours and sit and talk to that person. He wanted to know what happened in their life, what's going on, what got you to this point. Like, it wasn't just one or two. Like, there have been so many people throughout my life that I have no idea who they are, but they will walk up to me on the street and go, I want you to know that your dad saved me in a jail cell. Countless people. People that like they got out of prison after however many years. And then I would get like a massive portrait, like a hand painted portrait of my dad in the mail because they're just like, he had that much of an impact on me.
Wow.
So like, if anything, my dad would have been the biggest actual protector of the people. And so, yeah, people just using that in school is just a way to hurt me, to spread some kind of hurt. You know, people like to spread a lot of rumors and then use the dead parents in whatever capacity that they can. But at the same time, high school is when I did get to learn a lot more about the case that wasn't, you know, just the watered down version they would tell a child. It was also in high school that like in some of the bullying, I guess, people also told me things about the case that I didn't know. And so that's when I started really like wondering about the case and wondering what actually happened and realizing like, oh, I have just been given this very, very frosted version for a child, which I get. But now it's starting to, it was about 15. Yeah, it was 15 because it was right after my Nana had passed. She passed when I was 15. That, you know, with her death, like I really wanted to start getting all of the answers to everything.
Was she kind of shielding you from the truth?
Very much so.
So once she passed, it was like, Okay.
Yeah.
The shield is now down.
And there was a lot of things that I would even ask my papaw, and he would go, I thought you already knew this. I thought you were already told. And I'm like, no, she never told me any of this.
Do you have some resentment towards your grandmother and grandfather for this stuff?
Not for that.
Okay. Oh, for other stuff?
Anymore. There's definitely some stuff that I'm working through, especially like with my Nana, that I think everybody goes through whenever you're grieving. You're looking back at things that happened. Certain things in my childhood, like after she passed, I started thinking about like certain comments that she would make, like about my body, and that prompted, I went into, I still struggle with an eating disorder. I have anorexia. That kick-started after she died. There's some other things that I've had to process, a lot of like religious trauma that I'm still having to process and deconstruct and all the things.
Are you your own therapist, or are you actually seeing someone else?
I do see other therapists.
Okay, good. You're not just sitting in your own chair, cutting your hair and going.
Yeah, unfortunately, I know that that's not going to work.
Okay, good.
I have a therapist out of Bowling Green. Her name's Casey. She's wonderful. She's amazing. I loved her because the very first session, she's getting off and she goes, oh, wait. Just remember, you're a bad fucking bitch. And don't forget it. And I said, I'm sold. I want this one forever.
She ruined your hair, though. She's terrible at the hair part.
She did mess up the cut one time, From like them keeping things from me, I guess. I understand.
Oh, I couldn't imagine being in their shoes.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that I also, looking back, like I don't think I would have wanted to tell a child some of these details, So I very much understand why they didn't tell me. But then it was just getting to the point where I was getting to an age where I'm like, should I know this stuff already? Because everybody's looking at me like, what do you mean you don't know? Everybody else around me knows more about what happened than I do. And so that's when I started, getting documents from the courthouse and looking through files and
Google,
going and talking to Google. But also Google is so wrong so many times. Like so many articles about that day are so wrong.
Are you saying I shouldn't believe everything I see on the internet?
So you mean to tell me my grandparents are actually right about that? Wild. Yeah, like there are some articles that say I was like 5.
This is an easy one to get right.
Literally. I was born in 97. They died in 99. I was 5. Or they would say that like my parents were killed the day before in like the manner that his parents were killed. And I'm like, no, y'all got that all totally mixed up. But anyway.
They tried.
Yeah, I had to, they tried, but it's fine. I had to go like get official documents and look at things myself. And I finally had to sit down with a few, adults that, like one of the police officers, one of my parents' friends. And I just sat down with them and said like, okay, this is it. I need you to stop sugarcoating and I need you to give it to me straight front to back. Like I need to know the entire thing. And they did. They told me. So I'm happy that they did, because then a lot of that, seeing what I'd been told growing up, what I had been told by his sisters growing up, and then seeing what these other people and law enforcement even were saying about the situation. So it prompted me to start looking at my future, what I wanted to do. And
do you think his sisters believe what they're saying?
I think they're in so much denial that he took their parents, he took the rest of their family, essentially because they took his side, and that they lost all of their friends here. And I think they're in so much denial that he's the last thing of theirs that they can hold on to. I have some empathy there. Yeah, I understand where they're coming from. Is it right? No.
You got to protect yourself.
Yeah, like I know what their brains are doing. One of the sisters has a similar diagnosis to him that happened shortly after all of this happened. And I know her other sister is probably protecting her a lot. And so, yeah, I think it's just a big form of denial in a way for them to protect themselves and to hold on to one more piece of their family that they can. Because they still go see him often. They go visit with him like on a monthly, bi-monthly basis.
How old is he?
He was 26 when it happened in 99.
So he'd be 52, 53-ish. So he's got a ways to go yet.
Yeah. He has already had, though, like a couple heart attacks.
Oh.
And they brought him back. So.
Like, no, sir. No. It's on our terms.
Yeah. One time he like tried to fight them and then they like tased him and then his heart stopped and then they brought him back. So, his heart's been through a lot. Who knows? Who knows how much he has left?
So someone that's educated in mental illness and mental health and all this stuff, what do you think of the death penalty?
I'm one, I think it's justified under certain standards. I think if it is a person where you have absolute evidence that they are the one who did the crime, and then absolute knowledge that that person has no remorse of the incident, like looking at, serial killers, looking at people like this where they show zero remorse for killing their family. In cases like that, I would be okay for it to go to jury to see if they want to decide for the death penalty. It gets into the murky areas on a lot of cases where you can't necessarily tell. If there still is a lot of circumstantial evidence, I do not think that a death penalty should be on the table.
You're okay with the death penalty, but you think it's sentenced too often.
Yes. It should be like absolute last case scenario of like the absolute worst of the worst. I definitely feel like if there are people out there and they still have like empathy for what they've done and they show it, then don't do the death penalty. Let them feel that in prison. If you killed someone drunk driving one night and you show absolute remorse for it and you show that you are going to give back to the community and you're going to work every single day of your life to give back. Now that, no, I think that someone like that can be rehabilitated. It's all about like whether they can be rehabilitated or not, essentially. And also looking through, I have to look into like mental illnesses because you look into a lot of those personality disorders and you're like, are they showing remorse or are they mimicking? It's a very icky area, but I am one in certain situations like that. I have no remorse for you and I don't care. I want you off the earth. Yeah.
Some people are just straight up dangerous for whatever reason.
Yes. If you're even so dangerous that they're having to put you in isolation in prison because like you're going to kill everybody else in prison, maybe you shouldn't be on the earth anymore. Like maybe it's time to check out.
About the dark humor stuff. So, I mean, that's like, obviously
that's how we got here.
A coping mechanism. I totally get it. I've had my own issues. I don't know if you know much about me at all, but also I come from a big family of stand-up comedians that have never done a stand-up comedy show. You know what I mean? We love to shock each other and all that stuff. So is your family like that?
No. There's a lot of things that, I would just do the regular, like, try to get back at people in school because they would do the whole your mom joke, I remember in like 8th grade and there was this one boy in my class and he would say your mom to everything. And I got so fed up one day, I turned around and I backhanded him and I said, my mom is dead. And then, the whole class just went like silent. And then I quickly realized, I'm like, oh, people get uncomfortable when you talk about it. And so then I can start using this. When people make me uncomfortable, I can come right back and make them uncomfortable.
Weaponize my trauma.
Yes. And so, just a lot of kids being kids and all their jokes, I would always come out with because my mom's dead or my dad's dead. You know, what are you going to do about it now? And then they always feel bad. They're, oh, I'm so sorry. My bad. I didn't mean to.
You're like, just kidding. I don't care.
Yeah, literally, like, I don't care. I just wanted to see you do that.
Oh my God. But you're still doing it. But also,
like, but my family was very, like, if my Nana were alive today and seeing the TikToks that I make about it, she would tell me to go outside and pick a switch, I think. Like, I like, they would not understand at all because we grew up, like, in high school. I didn't go to therapy or anything. It wasn't a thing. And it was, we pray about it. You know, God only gives his strongest warriors his strongest battles, and he wouldn't give this to you if you couldn't be strong and handle it in life and blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't talked about in our house a lot. It was very repressed. And so it wasn't until
like that whole situation wasn't talked about. None of it. It was just.
Yeah, no, you just don't. We would be sad. We'd talk about, oh, I miss your dad or I miss your mom. But it was never a, like, let's sit down and, like, tell me stories about them. And, you know, it wasn't any of that. And it wasn't until about college years when I would just be deadpanning sentences, not necessarily thinking like, oh, this is funny or this is dark humor. It would just be mostly like this is also where I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm on the spectrum and nobody ever told me, because there's a lot of things that, one, social cues. I don't understand social cues. I don't understand normal humor or normal joking. I'm the one that's sitting in the corner like, I don't get it. Why is everybody laughing? I don't understand. And so I think my grandparents really missed that whole time of my life when they should have probably got me and, you know, looked at. But it's fine. So I start just deadpanning, mostly because they leave my mouth before I can think about it. And then people started cracking up laughing in college. Like, I would get an entire room just on the floor. And I'm like, what did I just say? And so and then people started telling me, they're like, oh my God, your dark humor is hilarious. And so then that right there said, okay, I'm going to stop telling my brain to think before I speak. I'm just going to let it go. And so that's what I've been doing for the past however many years. And then people were like, you should think about like some TikTok videos. Some of these sounds would be like perfect for you. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so right. These would be hilarious. And so then I make them, and then
people criticize you.
And then people criticize me on making light of tragedy.
I mean,
but also you don't know, like, you don't understand it until you've gone through something.
People are offended for people that don't even know, because this is the way you cope.
And a lot of times with them, I'm just like, I can't even really be mad at you for saying that, because I'm like, I'm happy that you haven't gone through something so horrific that makes you use dark humor as a coping mechanism. Like, I'm so glad that you haven't experienced that, but also get off my page. Like, that's like, okay, we're playing Cards Against Humanities. All of my friends know I don't care what card like I put down originally. If you have the dead parents card, you win.
Oh no.
Like, game over, they won, dead parents are out. So, you know, it's just one of those.
So we're recording this on Mother's Day.
Yeah. My husband said, what a day.
I know.
What a day for this recording.
And you suggested it. I was like, cool.
Also, because I suggested it, like, I just think it's Sunday. Like,
right.
Because I don't have anybody to celebrate today.
Was Mother's Day ever a thing for you? Did you like celebrate your grandma or something? Or what?
Yeah, until my Nana passed. And we would go every Mother's Day and go to the cemetery. And normally, like, during church, we would have some kind of like craft or something. And so then I would make something for my mom, and then I would walk over to the cemetery and like put it on her grave. And then I was always one, like, I would go and just sit and talk to the grave. You know,
Father's Day too, similar?
Yeah, Father's Day too. Or I'd just sit and talk to him and tell him, like, here's what's happened this year, or here's what's going on. Or
do you remember them at all? Any memories of them?
No.
No.
I do have a dream, which was one of the first times that I figured out that it was probably the repressed memory, because I gave a bunch of details. And then I remember my Nana looking at my papa going, she's not supposed to know that. So after talking with my first therapist, they were like, yeah, that's probably a memory. So it just sucks that it's that day.
Brains are weird, man.
It is really weird. What were we talking about before this?
Mother's Day.
Oh, yeah, Mother's Day. But yeah, so I would go talk to them there. We would normally, have dinner with my Nana, or the church would have something, usually on Mother's Day, something.
I'm assuming you're the only kid in town that had a dead mother?
Well, there weren't many.
But there was
There probably weren't many. I remember it was always me, and not at my church. Everybody at my church had mothers. But there was this one kid in my class that was adopted.
Oh.
And so we would always talk. But they would always be hopeful, like, maybe I can find my mom and dad one day. And it's like, yeah, love that for you. But, I mean, I hope they found them. Good for you, I guess. I'll just be over here with my gravestone.
I know where mine are.
Yeah, mine are right over there. They're just 6 feet under. It's fine. And then my Nana passed when I was 15, my sophomore year. And so then after that, it really just kind of became a solemn household. And then, like, there for a while still, like, with my husband, celebrating, his mom going out for Mother's Day, all through college and stuff. Now we just live 2 hours away. And so she usually has church all morning and everything. And then now he is a trumpet player. And so he does Mother's Day gigs. That's where he's at right now. And so we're not going to see her for Mother's Day. And we haven't done that for quite a few years. But once we kind of stopped seeing her, just because he has gigs every Mother's Day. But yeah, for a few years now, we just haven't really done anything. And so, yeah, really, I'm just like, I didn't even know that this week was Mother's Day.
Did you grow up with your husband?
Yeah. So we didn't grow up together, but we met in high school. We met in marching band. He was 2 years older than me. And so he flirted with me quite a bit my freshman year. I said, bye. And then sophomore year, right after my Nana passed, we started like talking. It was actually really funny. There was this girl who was a stalker in our school. Like literally, it was not very good. She had multiple restraining orders against her. And so she had said that she thought that this guy, Adam, was really cute. And I knew Adam as like super sweet, super innocent, just like one of the nicest kids. And I'm like, oh my God, he does not deserve to be like stalked and harassed by this girl. So I jump in and I'm like, actually, we're together. So maybe don't call him cute anymore. And so she was like, okay, my bad. He's all yours, girl.
That cured her stalking?
Yeah, from him at least. She moved on to someone else very quickly after. And so then I had made the mistake of saying that in the middle of the band room, surrounded by a lot of other people who nobody knew that Adam and I were together. Adam didn't even know that he and I were together.
You didn't even know it till after it came in your mouth.
I didn't even know. So then I had to go find him and be like, hey, I kind of announced to everybody that we're together, but it was because of so-and-so. You're welcome. And he did say, oh my God, thank you. I really appreciate that. I said, anything.
He's like, great, another stalker.
Yeah, exactly.
The dead parent girl.
Literally. I'm just like, hey, I don't have parents, so give me attention. Thanks.
What instrument did you play?
I was a clarinet player. That's how we met. That was a good time.
So then you're like, well, let's actually date then?
Yeah. It took a little while because he grew up Pentecostal.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So his parents are still Pentecostal.
I don't even know what that means.
Do you know what Pentecostal is?
I mean,
okay.
I do.
Do you know
don't.
like the they like
well,
the women have to wear? No, not Seventh-day Adventist.
Oh, okay.
Different.
Okay.
But there are some similar things in there. The girls have to wear like dresses or skirts all the time. They can't cut their hair. They can't dye their hair. They can't wear makeup. Men can't wear shorts. They can't grow beards. A lot of them like don't believe in doctors. A lot of them don't have like TVs in their house, or like he wasn't allowed to go to the movies growing up. They speak in tongues. Yeah. So he grew up Pentecostal. I grew up missionary Baptist. And so both of our parents were very much like, this is not going to happen because, you know, you don't go to the same church.
Our Jesuses are different.
Literally. Then he was like, you know, I really like you, but my parents don't want me with someone that's not Pentecostal. And so he starts talking to this other girl who is a Pentecostal. Well, me and this girl were in the same class, so we became friends, and we would start like messing with them sometimes. But eventually she did figure out like that I really liked him and he really liked me. And she asked me one day, she was like, I was picked by his parents, wasn't I? And I was like, yeah, a little. Weird. And she was like, yeah, I don't want to date him. And I said, okay, that's good. So it really was like their parents were just trying to set them up because they were both Pentecostals.
This is a whole other episode.
Literally. And so I finally, eventually one day I said, kiss me. You'll know it if you kiss me. It'll be a spark. And he said, this isn't a movie, Brooke. And I said, it'll happen.
You said, how would you know? You've never seen a movie.
Literally. Also, you've never been kissed before, so you wouldn't know. Actually, I think he had been kissed, but I needed to have a big head for a second. Well, he did kiss me, and then he got freaked out, and then he made me get out of his truck.
Get out, get out, get out.
And yeah, literally, that's exactly what happened. And I got out of the truck, and he drove away. But he asked me to be his girlfriend officially like 2 weeks after that. So it was fine.
Was it an awkward 2 weeks?
We've been inseparable since then. It was probably 2 weeks of me ignoring him and then him coming back saying, I'm sorry.
I got freaked out because I liked it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Which poor thing. That's why I said he was so innocent and sweet. Going up
in
his church. Literally. Though I'm pretty sure his parents still think that I've like ruined his life. Now he has tattoos and he has a beard.
Oh my God. He wears shorts.
I'm telling you. He was wearing shorts today on Mother's Day.
Of all days.
Literally.
Thank you so much for that, Brooke. You can follow Brooke. Her stuff is in the show notes, her social media and TikTok and stuff. And I suggest you give her a follow. She's a lovely, sweet girl with a good sense of humor and just a stand-up gal. So thanks, Brooke, for that. And thank you for listening. And please, if you are so inclined, I suggest you please rate and review the podcast. You can also go to my website, www.bunnyhugspodcast.com. And in the menu, there's all types of things, links and stuff to my social medias, to a merch store, to my public speaking information, and you can buy me a coffee. This is my full-time job, pays a bit like a paper route, so if you are so inclined, again, to please send me a tip or buy me a coffee, you can do that there. And you can even sign up to do it monthly. So, $2, $5, $10, whatever you want per month goes out of there. You don't even notice it. And you're helping out not just me, but the podcast, who then helps all types of people, including my guests and all the other listeners. So thank you again for listening. Stay tuned. Got more incredible guests and incredible episodes coming up. So until next time, please remember to make your beds and take your meds. Bye.